Rubber bands and AK, what could go wrong? AK Guerilla Gunsmithing series starts right now. So guys, this is going to be the series where we're going to talk about some field mods and field enhancements for the AK. And I know what you're saying, hey, AK is indestructible, nothing breaks and everything works always fine. I will tell you right away, the moment you step outside of the safety of your range and go and work with the AK in the woods or in the fields, the Murphy laws strike, right? And I have seen some crazy shit. But let's start with the tip number one. But let me reverse this crazy engineering first, and we'll talk about what we are doing here. And as you can see, I got that out in the chamber too. I'll pull it out. There you go. As you can see, we do not have the recoil spring. So what I have seen, and you can read some reports too, what happens is sometimes on the recoil spring, either recoil spring breaks or that guide for the recoil spring, you got like on some of them there are telescopic, and telescopic ones are holding up really well. But sometimes what happens with those guides, this is basically like a wire which is running around, and it's like welded into the push button. So what happens, that wire breaks, and then that whole spring collapses and the rifle stops functioning in the most severe cases. And if you are in the field, you do not have access for whatever reason to your supplies at home or the repair kits, and many people don't even have those guide rods as a spare part anyway, but you have to keep the system up and running. There is one cool trick for that. Of course, you can operate this manually too. So you've got basically the bolt and the bolt carrier, and you will shoot and you will hold it with your thumb, the bolt. You will prevent the bolt from jumping off, and that works too, but it's kind of cumbersome to shoot like this and work with the rifle. So one of the tricks is I always have the rubber bands, and those rubber bands with me when I'm in the field, and I use those rubber bands mainly on the rifle for camouflaging the rifles, but they could be used for everything. So you always should have the rubber bands in your kit on you when you are in the field. So what I do with what you can do with those rubber bands is you will hook them on the charging handle, and the best is the 4 or 5 rubber bands work best. And as you can see, this is regular rubber band, like you can get them from the Walmart or whatever. Nothing special, guys, there's no fancy shit. And I take those 4 rubber bands and hook them together, and I like to use as a hookup point the bayonet lug. You can, if you got the longer ones, you can use the front post too, or if you have those mini, sometimes they sell those mini bungee cords, they are useful too. So you can use them, and that works well too. The bungee cords are even more robust than the rubber bands, but since I have the rubber bands always with me, you know, in the kit, I'm going to show you how to use the rubber bands. So we do not have, the recoil spring is broken, that is not working. I still like to use the dust cover because that helps with all the sparks and everything flying out and keeps the dirt away, right? But now without the push button, is the dust cover will not hold up, it will jump out. So I put another rubber bands, you got them on the stock, right? And you just basically go over the stock, fold them in 8 if you have to, and you can secure your stock with, not the stock, but the dust cover with the rubber bands, and that will hold up. This is not the permanent solution, guys. Those rubber bands will start giving away, and you see, like, even when I was shooting at the beginning, one went out. But it will get you up back into the action, so you know, you can start returning the fire and push some lead down the pipe and keep spreading the horrors towards your enemies, right? But the main thing is, it is a field-like solution to keep you operational, and you can still take the well-aimed shots and provide the hits. Now, when charging, be careful, don't go all the way to the back, and just enough past the magazine, with the bolt carrier, and release it, and the round is in the chamber, and I'm going to shoot the target. And you can take the well-aimed shots, everything is working as necessary. Again, this is the field trick to keep your AK running without the recoil spring. This is not for fun, guys. There is you can injure yourself if you are dumb enough. So do not replicate this at home. That's an official disclaimer, right? This is just what I'm doing, and you don't have to do it at all. All right, let me reset the rifle, and we'll go to the trick number 2. Guys, word of advice when doing a field maintenance, and yes, it's good to always check your weapon in the field before you eating or going to sleep, right? So make sure your weapon is in the top shape. But before doing any kind of field maintenance, it's good to have like a poncho laid out, or whoopee, or if you don't have the poncho or a whoopee, use the top from whatever you're wearing, so you got something. Because I have seen, literally, you wouldn't believe it, I think I seen even once one of the privates managed to lose the bolt from 249, so I'm not joking. So the shit happens, okay? I'm not saying he was retarded, but the shit happens in the field. So always lay something, especially if you start taking the smaller parts apart from your weapon, and to preserve all the springs, pins, or everything. It's easier to find them on your piece of material, you got it, then start looking in the grass. And I'm telling you, to find you know, even the larger parts in the grass in the field, sometimes it's just absolutely impossible. But anyhow, I want to talk about another trick. So, and I have seen that happen. I managed to do that too. Once I lost the here when doing videos, I lost the retaining pin from the bolt, right? So we're stripping the bolt, and so, oh no, what happened was, I remember now, that pin was loose. On the bolt. That retainer pin for the firing pin was loose, and it fell out when I took basically the bolt carrier out of the rifle, and I didn't notice that. So that's what happened. And sometimes, yes, those pins are extremely loose. They have been taken many times apart. The bolts were taken apart, and you know, they're like very loose fit. People don't pay attention to it, and you flip, you're putting this back to the bolt carrier, you don't realize that that pin is gone. And now without that retaining pin, the firing pin could get loose too. But let me remove this firing pin, and not the firing pin, but the retainer pin for the firing pin. That one is holding hard. I'm using the standard AK cleaning kit. There is a punch tool in it, and there is that hole in the middle, and you basically taking this, placing, right, and if you will tap in, that retaining pin should start coming out, coming up, and there you go. See, it is coming up. So that's how we are freeing up the firing pin, and you can clean that channel later on. But what I want to do is, I want to show you how you can do the trick to replace that. but the firing pin, see that pin is retaining the firing pin, so I cannot still cannot free up that firing pin. Let me tap a few more times. There you go. And finally I got the firing pin out. Now normally I wouldn't remove it. I would keep that pin in the position like this. You don't have to completely disassemble, okay? But for the sake of the video, and as I said, sometimes those retainer pins are really pesky and they are really like to get lost. So there you go. Can we still move it? Nope, not yet. There you go. Okay, and it fell out. So that's the retainer pin for the firing pin. So what happens if you will lose that retainer pin for the firing pin? As the name for it says, now the firing pin is just falling off from the bolt on its own, right? And the reason why people don't notice this, because sometimes, like if you're holding like this, the firing pin won't fall out. They put it back to the bolt carrier, then they assemble the rifle, and then after, you know, if they got the one shot, if they're lucky enough to have a one shot, everything falls apart. I seen the bent pins because the firing pin moves away and creates a nightmare. But let's say you lost that firing pin, or you managed to lose that retainer pin for the firing pin. So what to do now? You need to secure somehow that firing pin from sliding off, because there you go, see, it can just slide off. So for this we'll need a regular toothpick, and you take a toothpick, and I always have toothpicks in my field kit too, for dental hygiene or for digging some shit out, right? Now we're going to, you gotta look for the cutout in the firing pin. This is where the retainer pin should go, see, like this, and that secures the firing pin from falling out. So you want to make sure that when assembling the firing pin back to the bolt, right, we got it back to the bolt, then I'm going to put the toothpick through it, through that hole, drill it in, drill it in, drill it in, and it come out on the top. And now see, the toothpick is retaining my firing pin. Okay, so magic. Okay, see what happened? But with this I cannot put the bolt like that back to the bolt carrier. So you have to take this off, basically break it away, punch it in, break it away, and you have to break that away. You can cut it, you can make the better cuts than I did here. I just doing, this is really a guerilla AKOU Gunsmithing. Check it out, and again, see, it's preventing from moving. And now we can assemble everything back. You will put the bolt carrier, bolt to the bolt carrier. We'll put the bolt carrier with the bolt to the rifle. I'm going to slide in the recoil spring with the bottom. And my dust cover back, right, and magazine. Don't lose that pin here. And I'm going to charge the rifle, and we're going to shoot. And there you go. It's working on the toothpick, basically. So this is as AKOU Guerilla Gunsmithing as it gets. Again, that toothpick is not going to last you forever. Sometimes it can go 10, 15 rounds, sometimes 5 rounds, and you're done. But this is something how you can fix the rifle in the field if you either something happens to that retainer pin for the firing pin, or you were dumb enough to lose it. And as I said, in the field some crazy shit is happening. All right, that's it. As always, thank you for being a guest in your house. Please subscribe, hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you got notifications about another episodes in the AK Gunsmithing, Guerilla Gunsmithing series. Thanks for supporting AKOU guys through the store. Remember, the AKOU store keeps us going and allows us to make the videos like this. More to come. See you in the next video. Bye.